Hello, my name is Ade McCormack. I'm a strategic advisor and keynote speaker with a focus on transformation. I'm a former technologist who today helps organizations thrive in the digital age. I work with public sector and private sector organizations, worked in about 40 different countries and written a few books on digital matters. In this Jedi session, we're going to talk about the future of work. We're going to cover what's driving this new type of work, why hybrid working is just a detail in a grander set of changes, and how you need to adapt to this. To understand the future of work, we need to kind of look at work as it currently is. Currently, we have the factory model approach. And in the factory model, which is focused on efficiency and process, us as workers are simply cogs in the machine, so to speak. And even if your organization today isn't actually a factory, it probably is in the sense that there is data on the conveyor belt rather than physical goods. But nonetheless, most organizations today are based on process and efficiency. However, the world is changing. We're seeing an increase in customer fickleness. We're seeing an increase in disruption. And we're also seeing an increase in innovation velocity, in the sense that we have to innovate much more rapidly because the market is so volatile. What we're also seeing is an increase in gig work. So we're seeing gig work not just taking place in respect of drivers and fulfillment centers, but in Fortune 500 CEOs as well. What we're also seeing here is a reduced forecasting horizon. So we're essentially operating in a kind of cloud or fog, so to speak. There's an issue in terms of access to talent. The war for talent has been going on for quite some time, but it's getting more acute now, particularly as the nature of talent changes, and we'll come to that pretty soon. There's also a war for natural resources. We're not making any more natural resources, so as a result, we're likely to see strong price fluctuations and possibly even wars around trying to secure all of this. And one of the other big effects is time to market is being significantly reduced. The time from concept through to value is reducing quite significantly. So this arthritic factory model is no longer fit for purpose. What we're seeing here is a big focus on the need to be innovative, and being innovative, you need humans in the process. So in many respects, what we're seeing here is a kind of, dare I say it, cognitive gym. And essentially, we are moving from being cog workers to cognitive athletes. So now our focus is on essentially using our brains at work rather than simply following a process manual. Okay, so to understand how we need to adapt to this future of work, we need to look at a number of different areas. We need to rethink what it actually means to be talent going forward. Well, essentially, the new definition of talent is being able to do things that algorithm and robots cannot do that are value to the market. This significantly tightens the available, if you like, cognitive potential available in the market. What's the future for HR? Well, HR traditionally was an extension of procurement. They went out and got the cogs, and essentially they used cog specs, which some of us call job specs, to find the cogs, and then to manage those cogs so that they remained compliant whilst they were part of the factory machine. What we need going forward is for essentially the HR function to be the manager of the cognitive gymnasium. So their job is to acquire and retain the cognitive athletes, and actually also acquire and retain the cognitive coaches, also known as leaders. What we're also seeing is a shift in the power axis from the employer to the employee. The employees, the talent, now has options. And all of this talk about hybrid working and the tension that goes around that is simply part of this overall axis shift. What HR functions need to realize is that they can no longer throw money at their talent problems. Innovation is pretty key to future talent. That's your moneymaker. That's what algorithms and robots cannot do. So innovation is critical. The cognitive gym is about stimulating innovation and turning that into value. Big question around tech versus human. Well, if you're a cognitive athlete, you don't have a problem. But if you show up as a process worker, then you're going to become obsolete. Going forward, those of us that are smart enough to use our brains at work, it will be tech and humans. In respect of the future of work, skills are important. Skills get the job done. But the reality is, we don't know what the job to do is in the next 6 months or a year. So skills are becoming less important, and in effect, traits are becoming more important. In many respects, these can be considered as meta skills. So adaptability, learnability, resilience, commercial acumen, sociability, the ability to play nicely with other cognitive athletes. These are key things going forward into an unknowable world. Now, if we look at this from the perspective of careers and the employee, we once had one career with one employee. That's the start of the industrial era. People like me, we had one career, multiple employers. But now we're moving into a world with multiple careers, with multiple employers, or more specifically, multiple gigs with multiple employers stroke clients. And these careers are not just playing out serially, they're playing out in parallel as well. So I might wake up in the morning and I'm an author before breakfast, then I'm a strategist during the day, and in the evening I'm a dubstep dinner jazz DJ. And to the casual observer, it's not clear which of those is my primary gig. The nature of work is changing drastically. In effect, a career for life is becoming a life of careers or a life of gigs. So as this future of work takes shape, what are we going to say goodbye to? Well, there's a number of things. I think the first thing we're going to say goodbye to are careers. Careers require a degree of predictability that we can no longer offer in a very uncertain future. We're going to say goodbye to ties and heels. The name of the game here is to feel comfortable so that you can do creative work. Now, I won't tell you which one I'm going to miss the most, but I think my feet will be pleased with the outcome going forward. Another thing that we're going to see the disappearance of is the weekend. The weekend was a protected space where the labourers were allowed to recover and you were allowed to enjoy at least part of your life. We're going to move more towards work-life integration, so it's not going to be so clear as to when work ends and when life starts. They'll become one and the same thing. Taking this even further forward, retirement is likely to be a thing of the past. Why stop working when you're at peak wisdom? And you just do it on your own terms. And a couple of other things we might see disappearing is the concept of breakfast. This idea of 3 meals a day is simply to keep the labourers fueled in the factory for the whole day. And perhaps a more extreme thing that we'll eventually see disappear over time is the idea of monophasic sleep, i.e. one sleep a day. Again, this was all about recharging the battery to get a full good day's work out of people. So the future of work is not simply hybrid working, it's much more profound than that. We need to move from cogs to cognitive athletes. In many respects, we have to be less Bolt in the machine, so to speak, and more Usain Bolt as a cognitive athlete. My name's Ade McCormack, and this Jedi session has been about the future of work.